Elias,
you got it? Okay, you have a real stat.
They've blown a ton of fourth quarter leads. You're right, exactly right.
I thought you really had one. You're going to help me.
He usually does.
I know.
I was looking up and down.
I was like, good, this is perfect. You'll clean it up for me. Yo, what's up? It's Chris Simms. It's Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Ahmed Fareed is here as usual, and his dry sense of humor. It's so dry at times that jokes just fly right over my head at times, and I don't get them for a few seconds. He's a smartass like that, but we love him. We definitely do. We're here at Central Park. There's a meeting going on behind us that is going to be ruined now by our loud voices, but screw them. That's what they get.
And swears, right?
And swears, right, definitely. So maybe they'll make their meeting better. I don't know, but good to see you, man.
Good to see you, too. The reason I have a dry sense of humor
Yeah.
is because if it's not funny, I just say it wasn't a joke. I was actually being serious right there. Thanks for laughing.
I think you actually could be like low. I really think you're like under the radar can be a comedian if you decide to do it.
Oh,
I
interesting.
do. You're definitely one of the smartest, on the spot, wittiest people I know.
Wow.
Right now you don't have any. You need to throw some bad words in there every now and then to add a little color to it.
And I have no frame of reference of what's happening in popular either.
Right.
Like I think a comedian needs that. Like they need to have some cultural references.
Definitely,
I don't have any of those.
Yeah. You're gonna be. It's gonna be tough on that with like popular music or popular movies. You're not gonna know any of that. But you are. You're definitely one of the quickest
Thanks,
I know
Chris.
that way. Yeah, no problem.
I was gonna make this a short intro, but let's dive into this a little deeper. But we try to keep it light here, But you know what helps this week is that we have the homies as well with some comments. I figured we've had YouTube for long enough. We've been putting this episode on YouTube from the get-go, right?
We got to give them some love.
We got to get some comments from the homies on YouTube.
We're sponsored by Lowe. If you want, hey, Chris Simms, it's Lowe's Home Improvement. You know where to find us.
Thank you, Lowe's, for being a part of the show again.
We got to get some people some love on the YouTube, watching the Lowe's stuff and all that. You got to give them a little love there.
Exactly. So, and some of them are giving us tips as we go.
Oh,
so
okay.
This is Girl Hunter 2102 says, and this came from a couple people, says, Chris, stop pounding the fist on the table. The mic picks it up. Okay. Who knew that our mics were that good? Where it can. So I guess when you go like this to make a point.
No, this mic is really good. I've learned that from my son in his like gaming world. When
picks up everything.
Well, I have one of these at the house, and he's always like, Dad, can I use your NBC mic? It's like, that's the mic, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. But yes, I'm sorry about that, Girl Hunter 2102.
We don't know we're doing that.
Right. I really don't. And it really is more about passion more times than not. So I'll try to limit the pounding of the table.
Another comment came from Adrian33161. So not just any Adrian.
Yeah.
This is Adrian33161. It goes, I wonder what is happening behind the camera that has them glancing over there so much. This is from our Sunday night pod.
Right.
And Wine Bua answered and said, aliens. So it was like trying to be a helpful homie helping homie.
No, what we're looking at, Adrian33161, is the game. The game. We have Sunday Night Football on during Sunday Night podcast while we're doing it, so we can keep our eye on that. So that's right here by the camera. And yeah, when Ahmed loses concentration and doesn't listen to what I say, he's caught up in a game in the big moment. That's what he's doing. And especially if the Lions are playing. But yes, we have like a 42-inch screen 3 feet from the camera on Sunday nights with the live Sunday Night Football game on, so we can kind of at least keep eyes on it and not totally be blindsided by the results and the events.
An important game that we need to be able to evaluate on the Sunday, because our promise to the homies is that we do it every single game.
My most stressful thing is on a Monday morning with Florio, we usually start the show with the Sunday night game, and I'm like, oh, great, yeah. So that's where it came from. I was like, if we're going to spend 40 minutes on this, I'd like to see the game actually.
Right. I didn't catch that game last night, Mike. I got to go back and watch it. So thank you for the comments. Keep those coming on YouTube. We'll sprinkle those in. We've got the Pick Six. We've got my buzz watch of what stories to watch for this weekend.
Yep.
But let's get right into it with the Pick Six. The 6 topics that you guys have helped us craft and put together here. We'll start with number 6. We'll start with the most recent one here.
Okay.
And this is from Monday, because you have not chimed in on this yet.
Yeah.
The NFL community has chimed in. You have not chimed in yet. The Falcons' stunning comeback over the Eagles. And we'll skip right to the last play.
Right.
And you can expand on whatever you want to. But let's just go right to the last play right here, because the Falcons had less than a 1% chance of winning with less than 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. There's the roller coaster ride at the end.
Yes.
Nick Sirianni and company decided to throw the ball on 3rd and 3 with the Falcons with no timeouts.
No timeouts left.
Were you screaming at your TV at the time, or did you think it was a justified risk?
No, you know me. I was screaming at the TV for a number of reasons, okay? I'll just tell you that. One, because I found myself rooting for the Falcons in the game. And again, I have a personal relationship with Raheem Morris. When I got drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he was there, so I'm rooting for him. I'm not going to, sugarcoat that. I'd like to see him succeed and do well. I think he got screwed over in his first head coaching job with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a lot of ways. So, yes, I'd like to see him, get that opportunity there. But the play itself, I was screaming at the TV. That's anti-Chris Simms approach and what we talk about in the podcast here. First off, I know, the knockout punch. We're going to go out for the knockout punch right here. Well, what happens when you throw haymakers? What happens? You leave yourself open to get a haymaker back, right? And that's exactly what they did. I have no pity for them. Yeah, Saquon Barkley should have caught the ball. I understand that. At the same time, he's a running back, and that's not his forte to catch the ball. He put his hands the wrong way. If you look at that, right? He didn't go like this. He went like this and tried to cradle it.
Yeah, you're right.
So he never did this, which is the proper way. He does it all the time. I don't understand why he did that, right? So that's easier way to catch because it keeps the ball in front of your eyes. Second, if it hits your hands and it falls, you have another chance to catch it the other way, right? That's the coaching behind that. So yes. So now after that, of course, I am let's run the ball there. And
maybe even twice.
Honestly. Twice, right? You're going to have the option to make a decision for what we saw throughout the night was them push the pile and run the ball with pretty good success. So you'd think, okay, it's 3rd and 3. They could run something up the middle, if not the tush push, and get 1.5 yards and then be in 4th and 1 and then make a decision from there, right? But either way, the time that didn't get lost on the clock was the killer to them. And with me, right, I'm more of I'm more of the safe approach, do it that way kind of guy anyways, right? So that. And to me, that was the right play. I did not agree with how they approached that. Certainly not. And then there's twofold to that, right? So the defense looked crappy the whole night. Of course you run the ball there. And what would they have left? Like 48 seconds left, maybe, basically? I mean, they would have had something in that range, by 58 seconds left.
Yeah, and they did score with like 38 seconds left.
Right,
so,
right. I mean, it would have been close. They went down the fast.
Yeah.
Right. They really did. And that's the other thing. I mean, the Eagles' defense, I'm officially a little concerned about it. There's no doubt, right? There's been holes in 2 games where you're just like, man, I mean, this is not good. People wide open, getting gashed in the run game, whatever you want to talk about. But there they are. They let them go down and score. Here's the other part that I don't think anybody's talking about. I mean, they go down and score. Philly gets the ball back. There's 34 seconds, and they got, 3 timeouts, I believe? Let me just make sure I get this right. They got 2 timeouts left, okay? They've used 1 already. Now, so they get a completion on first down to Goddard for 13 yards. They call the timeout immediately, right?
Yep.
Now they come back. It's 1st and 10 on the 43-yard line.
Correct. And
you have a timeout left. Why are you forcing that ball down the field in that instance there when really you're about 2 completions away from being in field goal range for one of the best kickers in the sport?
It was too desperation Hail Mary-ish for you.
Definitely. And the moment there with how they had moved the ball and to see that coverage, which was like a 2-man, the safeties were wide, there was a guy underneath them, that's not one there that would condone that throw or that decision. So that's the other aspect that I think a lot of people didn't talk about because we're all stuck on the 3rd and 3 throw, which was stupid. And I do think it's a little bit of like arrogance there in Philadelphia with Sirianni and being a little aggressive at times.
Oh, that's
and it came back to bite them in the ass.
So Devin McCourty made the point on PFT,
right?
That running the ball there, even tush pushing it twice, is not sexy, but might have been the right move. And wondered if Kellen Moore got a little too cute there, along with Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, right. That's what it looks like. It looked like that. Yeah, I understand the thought of wanting to put the game away and ending it and all of that.
So this is what I'll say. Let me be the devil's advocate here real quick.
Right.
I mean, I agree with everything you said there. I think you probably run it twice.
Yeah.
And just even if you don't get it, they got to go all the way down, kick a field goal, then you can still win in overtime. when you make the decision, though,
yeah,
it's like execution. You don't know what's going to be executed, right? You'd rather have a well-executed pass get the first down than a poorly executed run get stuffed there, right? So you can't really control execution. I think then we have that picture of when the ball is right there on the fingers of Saquon Barkley. If you were just to look at that picture and say, okay, I'll give you the choice now. You can continue this play, or you can go back and try to do a running play, 3rd and 3. I think if you saw that picture, the ball you probably would say, you know what, actually, I think just go with a pass.
Yeah, but this is why we say it's a game of inches. You lose by a fingernail, whatever.
Like up to this point, Kellen Moore, Nick Sirianni, it's like, they took a little bit of a risk here to ice the game.
Yeah,
I'm going to go through with this risk. I think it's going to work.
The play call was good. It did work. But again, the risk of, hey, the quarterback might miss the throw, the ball could get tipped at the line of scrimmage and fall incomplete, something like that, let alone, a running back who's paid not to catch the ball for a living. That's not his forte. And those are the things that happen there.
Although he was 4 for 4 earlier in the game.
I get it. He's got really good hands. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So, again, I hear you. Yeah. But you know me, and I always say this is not just reactionary to this moment. I'm one that kind of plays it safe in those moments.
Yeah.
And I believe in that. And with the way they ran the ball in general the whole night and the fact that they're the best QB sneak team in the history of football, I think those are the things that really kind of push it over the edge to go, that's why it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I do agree with you because I even think the safe play was probably even the more aggressive play, because if you run it once, run it again, I think you get the first down, ice the game with. It's still pretty aggressive.
Exactly.
You're not giving them anything there.
Right.
One thing on the Falcons here.
Yep.
This is from Coach Amorim.
Right.
He says, should offensive coordinator for the Falcons, Zach Robinson, change the system to fit more Cousins, or should Cousins fit more into the system that is more Stafford-like?
Yeah,
what did you see from this game?
I mean, listen, I thought that was an encouraging game for their offense and everything. And first off, I like what Zach Robinson's offense looks like. They're not going to leave the mold of what they are offensively. I mean, this is what he is. This is what he knows, Zach Robinson. Now, where it's different is, he's not going to call as many aggressive, big-time throws down the field because he knows, Kirk Cousins can't throw it like Matthew Stafford, but they still have plenty of other plays that are intermediate, shorter routes, whatever, that fit right into Kirk Cousins' wheelhouse, and he'll tear you up. That was not only a great performance by them on the offensive side of the ball in a lot of ways. I really give Kirk Cousins a lot of credit. He looked like a different guy from week 1 to week 2. All right, it was a lot of pressure on him in that game. He already gets, primetime Kirk and all that bullshit, right, that's out there. Yeah. Let alone he didn't play good in week 1. The Michael Penix, how much money he's making. So, that was a big-time performance with everybody having him under a spotlight, really, going, what's he going to look like? Is this going to really work and do that? He played great. He was clutching big moments. They ran the ball well. You saw their potential of their offensive line. It's very good. So all that was, awesome. The disappointments are the Eagles' defense, the decisions at the end, but there's silver lining, too, for the Eagles. I mean, again, the run game and Saquon Barkley look real. The offense is definitely more diverse and going to give defenses more of a problem. Yeah. Jalen Hurts definitely looks a little faster than he did last year.
He looked better,
right,
as the game went on.
And, he still made a lot of high-level throws. So we'll see where that goes.
And they didn't have A.J. Brown. So
exactly
a lot of good things for Philadelphia there. So the Falcons, they host the Kansas City Chiefs Sunday Night Football coming up this weekend.
They match up well with the Chiefs.
Chiefs only a 3.5-point favorite on the road.
I get that. Well, because here's the thing is, they're going to have an offensive line that can run the ball on the Chiefs a little bit. I really do believe that. We know their passing attack's going to be well thought out and all that. You're not going to trick Kirk Cousins and them too much, so I don't expect the Chiefs to be like free blitzers coming through and all that with the crazy spag stuff, right? So I do think that they can move the ball on this Kansas City defense, which in the first 2 games, both teams have moved the ball against Kansas City. They're not statistically dominant right now, even though I think they're better than the statistics. Defensively, Raheem Morris is a master, okay? And now without Pacheco in the run game, you go, oh, wait, the run game might not be quite as effective in Kansas City. And Raheem Morris is a master in passing off receivers in zone coverage. That's what he does. They don't play man in Atlanta. So, like, all the deep post and crossers and things that Kansas City's trying to get back to and do all that, I have a hard time thinking that they're just going to absolutely tear them up with some of those concepts, as well coached as they are in the secondary with these, two safeties they got back there and A.J. Terrell and company.
You know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
Watch that game.
Yeah, you should.
NBC.
I think it's going to be very good.
If you want to stream it. Eagles visit the Saints. Ooh, could be a tough one, which brings us to number 2 on our pick 6
look at
right
you
here.
Hosting this thing.
Pete helped me with the assist on
Way
that
to go,
one.
Pete.
The new look offense for the New Orleans Saints. Clint Kubiak running that. Let's start with Dustin Sheets here, actually. His tweet says, this to you, really interested in knowing what you think about the Saints' early season success. Is the new scheme sustainable? Would you change your playoff prediction on them? So you were curious too about the Saints.
Yeah.
So that's one of your deep dives. You went into the barn.
Yep.
Popped open your video, your notebook, started watching the Saints offense.
Yeah, I mean, you've heard my thoughts on the Saints offense for the last 2 weeks. I'm amazed by it. I love it. It's been the most fun thing to watch in football, I think, through the first 2 weeks. There's a ton to like about what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. It's totally different, right? As you heard me say a little bit before, with the last offense last year and Carmichael and all that, it was the basic West Coast bullcrap that I don't like, right? Where too many defensive coordinators and defensive players throughout football know the rules of the offense, they know the route combinations, and they're all over it. If you're running this old school West Coast offense still, you're behind in the times. I can just tell you that, right? Shanahan and McVay are West Coast in some of their language, but they've added their own coast to, what it is and their own flavor. So it's not like, anything like John Gruden and what I ran in the early 2000s or Bill Walsh. It's really not a ton of that. It's just the language is based on the West Coast system. But this one, I don't even know where to start. First off, it's the formations. It's the motions. It's the back to old school football. 2 backs, 1 tight end, 2 tight ends, 1 back, smash mouth football, just like his dad with Gary Kubiak. We're going to run the ball. We're going to be physical up front. And then he's found the Shanahan wrinkles and how to dress it up.
It's new school, old school.
It is new school, old school. And I can tell the effect Shanahan has because I see certain run plays and I go, this is Shanahan's coaching on how they doubled and got up to the second level or didn't double a guy and somebody just got up to the second level. They little creative ways in certain run schemes where I go, that's the Shanahan effect for him. He's brought that along with him. So all of that, let alone some of the talent they have on their football team, and the fact that they are a force at the line of scrimmage physically is awesome and is what is allowing them to make so many big throws in the pass game.
Here's the Saints offense.
Yeah.
38 runs in the game, just 18 passes. They score over 40 points with that combination. They averaged 2.3 yards before contact per rush. The Cowboys were like 0.3. And so Alvin Kamara, and you saw it too on his first 2 running touchdowns, he was barely touched. And the first time he was touched was maybe 5 yards down the field on both of those. That offensive line for the Saints looks like they play, one of the guys, Lucas Patrick, I think, was one of their guards. Their center, I think, had a good game too.
They're all good.
They're good.
They're good. They got the look, right? You saw in my notes, it's one of the first thing I wrote. Because the first few run plays, you just go, whoa. They're pushing Dallas back like considerably, like it jumps off the screen, right? Usually early in a game, you might see a few good designed runs or whatever, and there's a hole. Like, hey, cool, but they're just kind of getting used to things. This was like, hey, good design run, but it was nothing special like, oh my gosh, creative, and Dallas's line went 4 yards backwards. That's when you go, whoa, okay, this is not just early game. This is like they come off the ball firing. They all have a great look. They're all athletic and stout, right? So they can ask them to do a lot of different things, let alone they have power. They pass protect well. So that's the thing I really love about them, but they are physical in the run game. And that's one thing I'll say, hey, with Carmichael and Sean Payton and what he instilled with them, and Dennis Allen, of course, was a part of that. Those teams are physical too. They've been physical down in New Orleans, but now they have the talent to go along with it and the system that can capitalize off that physicality and make some big plays after. It's 2 weeks in a row they put amazing numbers up and didn't have to throw it a whole lot. Right? And that's rare in the NFL. But it tells you the effect their run game is having on defenses, because the Cowboys, they were like, oh, man, we're overmatched, and we know their linebackers and their interior D-line are not that great in Dallas, and that, again, showed this week. And they were in a tough spot where they were like, we got to put extra people down there to stop the run. They're going to gash us. And, of course, that leads to those big passes.
Yeah, I don't know if we showed the Alvin Kamara rushing chart, what he was able to do against this Dallas defense, but it will help make the point to the Dallas defense. And you've touched on it a couple of times here. There was really not a defensive lineman that graded out well, according to PFF, on that line.
No.
Mozzie Smith found himself 5 yards down the field
the whole
at
game,
times.
almost, right. I mean,
but it wasn't like there was anyone that was
nobody would have popped
holding
out.
their own. So
Michael Parsons pops because of athleticism, but he didn't even make a lot of plays either. Right. And Dexter Lawrence was nowhere to be found really in the game either.
J.R. Smith, 45.
Yeah.
Why was the Cowboys defense really good against Cleveland, yet really poor against the Saints?
Yeah, well, Cleveland's a very basic attack. Cleveland would be a little bit of what I just started off the segment with a lot of bullshit West Coast stuff, where it's like good coaches. Mike Zimmer, who's been around since Bill Walsh was running the West Coast and the 49ers, he looks at the offense like Cleveland is like, let alone he also, was with Stefanski in Minnesota before that, and he's like, I know every rule of this offense, so no problem, no big deal. Let alone it was Deshaun Watson's first game of the year and first game in a while. He wasn't great. They were missing both their starting tackles. Let's not forget that in Cleveland as well, right? So there was a number of issues that played into that, but they're not a sexy offense. This one, they pose so many more problems. They do, just with the way they call the game, the creativity of what they do before the snap, and of course that mix of run and play action is dangerous. And as we always talk about, the best offenses in football right now, your Detroit Lions, even last year and all of that, play action pass is the thing that kills everybody. It's the best way to get explosive plays in the game right now, and New Orleans is leaning on that in a big way.
We have a comparison to their numbers, just stat-wise, from last year to this year. This year, they're averaging almost 7 yards of play already. Play-action drop-back passes, 54% as opposed to 14%. So this is the new-look offense.
Yeah.
To finish off Dustin Sheets' question, is this sustainable? Would you change your playoff prediction on them 2 weeks in? It's early.
Good.
It's early. But, what do we think about how sustainable this is?
Yes, if I could change my playoff prediction, I would tell you right now, I would knock the Rams out and put the Saints in. I would definitely do that. Right, the Saints and the Bucs are the two teams that as you look through 2 weeks, right, I go, they look like playoff quality football teams, right? And I'm wrong there. I wish I could take the Bears and the Rams out and put the Bucs and the Saints in.
Don't do it yet, though. Don't do it yet.
I'm not going to do it yet.
You still may be right.
It's a long year. But to be fair to Dustin Sheets and where my thoughts are there, that would be what I would tell you as of right now. No doubt about it. And the defense, of course, we know Dennis Allen, always creative, and the one thing the Saints have is they're deep on the defensive line. So they got a lot of big physical guys there, too, that help them out. And they got some good secondary guys. But the Cowboys with the D-tackle issues, with no Deron Bland at corner, right? So right now Carlin Coleman is the starting corner opposite of Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs is not totally 100% himself yet. Okay, so I don't believe he's there. Now you're starting a corner over there. You're keeping in 21 personnel, so you're going to keep their base defense in. Their safeties aren't incredibly athletic that way, so they have to worry about a corner that, oh no, he's kind of a matchup nightmare for us and doesn't really work out that way. And, oh no, we're not that good at stopping the run. That's tough on Mike Zimmer and company to be able to stop that. And those are going to be issues as we go forward here.
I had to look up Kalen Carson. He was a 5th-round pick. He's a rookie.
Wake Forest,
out of
right?
Wake Forest.
Right.
Yeah, we really didn't even talk about him in the draft process.
No, we did not.
You look at a billion dudes, you probably watched him at some point. But
he was down the line, though, certainly. So, I mean, hey, good for him that he's starting, but I think that kind of tells you that they're a little undermanned in that position right now.
Let's go into your notebook
on
this one to show one thing. Brought to you by Lowe's, the title sponsor of Chris Simms Unbuttoned. This is, I think this is Rashid Shaheed appreciation notebook time.
Yeah, well, it's Rashid Shaheed and a little Olavi here, right?
Okay,
it's both. They both got it. But here's what I like. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, okay? They ran this concept, which is very basic, but again, they dress it up in a little different way so you don't know it's quite coming. And then when a team's worried about running the football, right, they go, oh, man, I got to get our safeties down there a little closer. So they ran this play, this concept, 3 out of the first 8 plays of the game. And they were 3 for 3 for 126 yards and a touchdown. Okay? So the bomb to Shaheed, right, and then 2, they hit on the first play of the game, they hit the in-cut coming the other way where the post was that way. He hits Olave. It's the first or second play of the game. It's the first pass either way. Then later on, he hits Shaheed with the big throw. And then I think it's Shaheed again on the crossing route. I'm getting him. It might have been Olave gets the crossing route again and gets him down there close for a touchdown. But either way, what I love about it is, hey, we kind of know the team we're playing. We know Zimmer. It's quarters. This is a tough concept on quarters coverage. But even versus single safety, it's a tough concept if you're running the ball well because the linebackers will sneak up and get too involved in the run game. And then that in-cut crosser that you see is always wide open. But it ain't broke, don't fix it. They kept going to the well, and the touchdown pass by Carr was incredible because it was truly one of those where when he was throwing it, Shaheed was behind the defender, but he knew he'd run by him if he threw it out there far enough, and he launched it, stayed tough in the pocket again, people around him, let it go, and Shaheed just turns it on, and he's special.
One of the best in the NFL. We got to start talking about him like that.
Exactly.
Is what you said.
Sorry, I banged on the table there. Sorry about that.
Hey, you're catching it though. Here's the play. Well, that's the thing. I don't think I'm sure I've seen it before.
Yeah.
But usually you think receivers are running in like fourth gear and go up to fifth gear. He was running in third gear and then went to fifth gear because the difference between how he's going right now, which you thought was fast, to this point, was incredibly different.
That the great ones have this gear. When the ball's in the air, they have that ability to see it and go, wait, I can turn it on and go a little bit faster. But then it's also the setup of the route, like you talked about. He comes off the line of scrimmage kind of smooth. He kind of bends it like he's going to run a corner route, which is also a very familiar route with this concept. So he gets Hooker leaning that way. And then again, what I told you before, Wilson and Hooker are just not very fast. So that's where film study comes in. He starts to go, wait, I saw enough of these guys all week that I know if my guy gets close, he'll run by him. And he saw him put that move on Hooker, and he threw it to a spot and knew Shaheed would run and go get it. But it is time, as you said, and like I put in my notes.
Yep.
He is one of the best receivers in football. Sorry, it's just my finger, though. He is one of the best receivers in football, and we need to start talking about him like that. Yeah. I mean, he is up there with whoever you want to put up there with. The Chases, the Justin Jeffersons, I'm ready to put him there. I really am. He's incredible that way. And I think that tandem at receiver they have, those two, Olave and him together, that's one of the better ones in the NFL as well because they both can go and they both can run routes pretty damn good.
Third-year guy out of Weber State.
It's amazing.
He was undrafted,
I know. They found a gem in Rashid Shaheed.
6 foot, 180, so not the biggest guy out there, but certainly one of the fastest.
Yes, he
Saints
is.
Versus the Eagles, as we said.
That'll
New Orleans
be
a 2.5-point favorite.
I get that.
At home in that one.
I get that. Well, they got big people, I think, to slow down the run a little bit. And then how can you feel good about the Eagles' pass defense as we sit here right now? How can you? I mean, we saw Jordan Love just hit the people wide open, and he missed 4 or 5 throws in the game. And then, of course, last week with Kirk Cousins dicing them up, not a good look for that Eagles pass defense.
Cowboys and Ravens, that'll be a good one in Dallas, where the Ravens actually are favored by 1.5.
I get that too. And here's the last thing I want to add to this because we kind of got into the 2 backs, 1 tight end, right? And here's an element, and this is where I love the potential of this offense, and watch this as we go forward, okay? The Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara combo has a chance to be every bit as good, if not better, than McCaffrey and Juszczyk in San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
Taysom Hill's more talented than Juszczyk. Right? Taysom Hill can play tailback, fullback. He can play slot receiver. Kamara can play slot receiver. I think you'll start to see Kubiak do the Shanahan McCaffrey stuff here soon. They're going to continue, I bet, as time goes on, they're just going to keep unlocking parts of the offense. It's early, right? So you don't want to throw the whole offense on all these guys right away. So they're going to go, hey, here's the base meat and potatoes is how I want to run our offense. You guys comfortable with that? Hey, we're kicking some ass. How about this new one to kick some ass? And now the guys buy in, right? Because they're like, look, everything he's told us so far is great. So, oh, man, this is going to be great too. And that's what I think they're hoping for. So we'll see where that goes. But they are definitely going to be a mismatch nightmare in ways because, again, man, they're running it down our throat. They're running it down our throat. Oh, shit. Wait, now Taysom Hill's in the slot. oh, no, he's matched up against our 250-pound linebacker. This is not good for us. He's going to get open every time. Or Kamara's out there. Or they're in empty, right? And you're in, like, we're going to stop the run defense. And all of a sudden they're in empty with Olavi, Shaheed, Kamara, Taysom Hill, and the tight end. And you're like, oh, no, like we're definitely at a disadvantage.
They can stress you multiple ways.
That's where we're going to think we're going to go. And the last thing I'll add to this conversation is, and maybe this, Zimmer's got to do a little more on defense. Zimmer, the day of, again, you've heard me say this a million times, the day of this is what we do and we're going to be good at it, that shit is over, right? It's over. We talk about all the great defenses in football. None of them are, this is what we do, this is how we play, except for maybe the 49ers. And I think even they've learned a lesson that they have to throw a few more curveballs into the mix here, right? But Zimmer with either cover 4 or cover 1, and his only wrinkle is the double A gap thing on third down. And so many teams do that. It's really not a big deal. It's not a big deal to the way he does it. So I do think he's got to be a little more aggressive too.
So the next time he plays a Shanahan offense, he might need to take some notes on what Brian Flores did against the actual Kyle Shanahan and his offense and the 49ers. You took a closer look at that. We'll talk about it after the break. My opinion, the #1 team that has the best chance to create a ton of buzz, we talked about it already, the Minnesota Vikings. They shut down their second team on defense. Flores does it again. This time it's against the 49ers. Sam Darnold disposes of his former team, and they go 2-0, and all of a sudden the team that everyone thought was going to be 4th in the division in the NFC North, now is like, can they challenge the Detroit Lions and win this division?
And Flores is going to be very, very much up to the challenge of, I'm not going to let Shanahan make me look like a fool. So that's where this will be a masterclass in coaching and X's and O's. It's going to be a fun one.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Buzz Watch is 1 for 1 so far.
Bam, you are Farida Damas over here.
Now, I made clear that wasn't a prediction. I was just saying which teams had the biggest potential to have a
I got
big buzz.
Right.
But wait, I mean, we nailed that one.
They struck on the potential for sure.
They did.
Well, there was a lot of cool storylines there. Nobody expected the Vikings to be 2-0. Everybody questioned the Sam Darnold thing, right? Yeah, it was his old team in the 49ers. So I think you were exactly right to kind of look at that game as being the potential big buzz game. And they delivered for you.
Only 2-0 team in the NFC North now.
It's incredible. It really is fun to watch. Another team that you'd go with like Minnesota, you'd go, man, the offense is fun to watch. I love Kevin O'Connell. I think he's actually gotten better at the run game too. I think they're better in the run game than they've been in the O'Connell era. So that's going to be cool to see. But yeah, as we talked about a lot Sunday night last week, O'Connell and Flores are capable of matching wits with Shanahan and Sorensen and whoever. They can match wits with anybody. And that's why Minnesota is going to be in this thing the whole year.
So pick #3 for us. You went deep diving again into your notebook, making all these notes. Brian Flores, is he the kryptonite to Kyle Shanahan? He did it again to him. Wes Kruger tweets at us saying this, Chris, can you explain why the Flores scheme is so difficult on quarterbacks and specifically what he has on this offense that gives everyone else in the NFL issues? Seems like he has some sort of a beat on it now.
He attacks it a little bit. All right. We talk about this all the time. The great defensive coordinators don't go, well, I'm going to be perfectly sound on every play, right? It's impossible now with all the formations and motions and all that, right? We had this conversation when the Dolphins started tearing up everybody. I started going, you just can't play normal defense. You got to take some calculated risks and kind of mess up their flow and their rules a little bit. And that's, to me, what the good defensive coordinators in football have figured out. If you sit back and just go, well, I'm going to have a guy for this gap and a guy for this gap, Shanahan's going to find some way to formation it and motion it to all of a sudden you're going to have a gap that is unaccounted for, right? So you got to be unpredictable. He is the master of, oh, once I've got to feel you do this when I line up in this situation, that's when pew, and all these big plays happen. You notice that no big plays happened the other day. They moved the ball, but no big plays. That's where Shanahan makes his money. They're one of the most explosive teams there is. They're kind of front runners that way in a lot of ways. But Flores never lets you get in a rhythm. There's always oh no, I think they're bringing all-out blitz, so we have to call and have a contingency plan for that. So like I said on Sunday, it takes a leg of power out from Shanahan, who might want to call 2 plays in the huddle, and both of them are to gash you. Instead, in a game like this, it's like, hey, I like this play, but the other plays, in case they all blitz, we just got to make sure we get through the play here without being negative, right? So that takes something away from him there. Let alone Shanahan's the master of, hey, when they do this, just read this guy. And if you listen to me, and we'll put him in a bind in the pass game, and if he goes here, you throw it there. If he goes there, you throw it here, right? He's a master of that. You can't always do that with Flores. There's no keys. You underneath center, and you're like, oh, no, it's all blitz. You say set hut, and you're like, they're all dropping back, but I don't know what coverage it is, so nothing Kyle told me during the week is yet I know what it is. And then you're dropping back, and you're like, I think it's cover 4. Oh, it's Tampa 2. Oh, crap, where? I got to look over here now. And so it just throws you out of rhythm that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And he is a master of changing things up throughout, right? He's got some staples. They really play a ton of Tampa 2 and do that, but he never lets it go on and on to where you start to go, they're in a groove. It's like, it's Tampa 2, it's Tampa 2. Then you call a play for Tampa 2, and you go, he's playing quarters this play. Hey, now he played quarters, a few times lately. Oh, now it's quarter, half. Like he always do that, let alone they sprinkle in the blitzes. And then when they do blitz, they do it smart. They go, I'm not going to be stupid and be aggressive blitzing Shanahan. He'll have something dialed up. So he runs blitzes where they blitz, and they play soft zone behind it. And yeah, they might give up a few yards, but they change up the look, and now Shanahan's not sure what the rhythm of the play calling is. And if you saw, one of the things I wrote, right, like, unlike Zimmer, first and second down are very creative. Third down, good luck trying to figure that out, right? But he might have a few first and second down plays where, hey, he might give up a play or yards, but it's for the greater good. It's of like, hey, I had to throw this in here because I don't want to be predictable on first and second down all the time, or he's going to crack the code and he's going to start gashing me. So, yeah, you live up a few plays every now and then just to continue to change things up. So Shanahan never does that, who always breaks the matrix on most defensive coordinators, and that's where Flores is a real pain in the ass for him and so everybody.
As a layman like me, it sounds like, okay, I play Madden.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
Yeah.
I don't play 2 deep zone all game. I blitz a little bit. I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It seems like other defensive coordinators could do what he does, but there's obviously some magic how Brian Flores does it.
There's magic in doing it and then being sound at the same time, right? That's the big thing.
It's being able to coach it.
It's being able to coach it and not be like, well, this is really cool, but we're leaving a 10-foot void here, or we're just leaving this area of the field uncovered in a pass game, right? So you got to be able to be creative, but also within that creativity still go, wait, if they run ISO left downhill, I got to make sure we got people in gaps and stuff that make sense here, and not just be like, oh, it was cool, we confused them, but we just left like a whole area like unattended to, right? So that's where the beauty of it is. And yes, you got to be a special coach to do all of that stuff. The disguises, the calls, the changes. Oh no, Shanahan motioned. Now we got another call. We got to do this, right? He's really good at that. He's really good at putting 5 people at the line of scrimmage, and then, oh no, man, it's 5 people. Okay, running's going to be tough. But when we drop back to pass, we think, oh, hey, it's going to be a 5-man rush. Someone always drops out. It's a 4-man rush, and now there's 7 people back in zone. So he's good at kind of playing both that way, too, as far as having people there for the run with some bodies. But if it's pass, they know, hey, I can get out of there quick, and we can confuse the quarterback a little bit.
All right, so maybe we can visually represent what you're talking about here with some screenshots.
Oh,
this is from a third down early in the first quarter here. 3rd and 3 on the San Francisco 37.
Yep, and this is what, the first third down of the game, Pete, right? This is what I wrote in my notes? Yeah. So this is where I think I wrote down, 3rd down, good luck trying to figure out Flores, right? I mean, so here it is. We got a 3-down lineman and what is it? 3-down lineman and 6 other guys hovering around the line of scrimmage. And you go, I don't know where anybody is here, what's doing. Okay, we got the 3 people blocked. We're going to definitely get the 3 down linemen. And then they got Van Ginkel up on the line of scrimmage now. Right. So now you're going, wait, it's a four-man line. So we got to make sure the center, the left guard, the left tackle block those guys. And we got the backside right tackle for the defense end over there. So we should be good. They sent him and Deebo Samuel in motion from the right to the left. So now they're in a little bit of a bunch. So now it's starting to clear out because we're getting close to set hut. And now let's go to the next one, Pete. So you see there, you don't know what it is. And then you get out of it, and it's like they're playing 2-man on the top, okay? And they're playing – the guy on the bottom here is on an island playing man-to-man.
And he's seated. That is – I mean, that's
he's falling down.
That's next level for Brian Flores.
There, yeah. But then off of that, he's got the backside safety – who made it look like he was going to help the corner down here, right, to maybe be some too deep look. He kind of goes back there like, hey, it's too deep. You're not going to have him. But as soon as the ball gets snapped, he kind of stops going back there, and he hovers around the middle of the field. So they're playing 2-man to the left side of the field. But what also, they have a guy in the middle as a robber in, Notre Dame safety, Harrison Smith, who's sitting there waiting for any crossers to go across the field. And in this coverage and in times, you can have people open crossing the field like this, but not when there's a guy like him in the middle linebacker underneath. So there you went from, wait, it looks like it's all out blitz, to wait, it's a 3-man rush, to wait, oh no, now the linebacker's at the line of scrimmage, it's going to be a 4-man rush. Oh, they drop back. They usually, when they do this, play Tampa 2. It looks like it's about to be Tampa 2. Oh, let me look. Oh, wait, it's 2 to this side, but I don't know what the other side is, and you get thrown out of rhythm. Now you're late to read things. Everything is off kilter, and that's what they do. They mess the quarterback's clock up because wait, I was looking here. I got to look back here. I thought this was this coverage, and you could see the Vikings are all over this, and they knock the ball down, and it's punt the ball for San Francisco.
Blake Cashman there along with Stephon Gilmore. It is a little bit of an embarrassment of riches for the Vikings on the defensive front. I mean, you look at some of the names there. Van Ginkel, he has popped early on this season. Yep. Dallas Turner, who they drafted, you were very high on out of Alabama. Jonathan Grenard, who was awesome last year. And then there was this other guy, too, that I was watching. I did a little film.
I could see
amateur
that.
Film watching guy.
Right.
Patrick Jones, definitely making life tough on Trent Williams, which was quite impressive.
I mean, kind of incredible, right? Patrick Jones, a guy that's kind of been a rotational player, nothing special, and here he's kind of got a real niche with their football team and popping. I mean, what is it, year 4?
Fourth-year guy out of Pitt.
Pitt, right.
He was a third-round draft pick.
Yeah, so, again, it shows you they've coached him up. They like what he's doing on the football field. And I think, too, they have a little depth on the D-line. And this is where, like, you always hear me say, you got to help your guys out. Like, I don't look at this D-line and go, oh, wow, it's an all-star group. But he makes it look like it's better than it is because he gives you so many schematical advantages all the time, right? Think about if you're, the left guard. It's like, wait, it's blitz. Oh, I got to wipe the blitz. Oh, no, it's not blitz. Now I got to get back and block a 300-pound guy here. But I took a wrong step at first because I thought it was blitz. So he gives his team and players so many schematical advantages that can make them look better and give them a little bit of an edge against the offense.
And it was against 49ers offense that you noted in your notes looks better than they did last year. And so even with an improved offensive line, stronger, more physical, they still had issues with
Brock Purdy played really well, right? He threw the interception. Okay, that was bad. I get that. He got strip sack fumbled, right? Or he didn't even really get strip sack fumbled. The ball just slipped out of his hand. But they survived that because then Sam Darnold threw an interception a few plays later. But I want to say that Brock Purdy, for this game and this defense and what they did, he made a lot of good decisions and good throws. I really like the way Brock Purdy in 2 games has thrown the ball. He has shortened his motion. He used to have this big floppy wing motion, and it's definitely quicker and coming out through his ear a little bit better. And I really do like that. But to what we were saying too, yeah, they got some injuries. We know that there's no McCaffrey right now, and now Debo's out, and Ayuk's not quite himself yet either. But the thing that I like about the 49ers more than last year is I think their offensive line play is better. They have 5 ass kickers up there right now. They have moments of blowing people off the ball, including the Vikings here. And then, of course, when you couple it with Johnny Sledgehammer and Jordan Mason, right, it's a special run attack. This was a good game, but the Vikings with the goal line stop, right, with the other midfield stop at one point on fourth down, they won some big moments, and then, of course, their offense was able to make some plays that kind of put the 49ers in a tough spot being down 10-0 early.
So Flores is part of the kryptonite for Kyle Shanahan, but not just Flores. He's had trouble now with Steve Spagnuolo a few times, Jim Schwartz, even back to his coordinator days here. So Pete has put together, and Gabby back there, this graphic on who has been able to figure out or at least contain, get a win against Kyle Shanahan.
Right. This is these guys are all what we talk about here all the time, right? It's everything we talk about. Creativity, never look quite the same on a week-to-week basis, always have a few wrinkles. We'll do some calculated risk to go, I'm going to call this, but I think I got to do it just to, throw a wrinkle in their game plan and not let them just blitz us all game with creative plays and gashing us. And that's what all these guys do. That's it. So this is where, as you always hear me say, Shanahan is the ultimate code cracker. You can't crack the code on these guys. You can't. They have so many ways to do so many different things. And, I would say that group right there, gosh, it's three guys we're talking about. And I would say it's, them, the Steelers, Mike McDonald in Seattle, which it hasn't quite got there. They're the most creative defensive play callers in the game. They really are. And you know who else is getting to that point too? Is the Chargers. The Chargers with Jesse Minter and stuff, they do some cool stuff on defense, and we'll talk about them a little bit later, but either way, I think there is something to that, and the unconventionality, I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm going with it, of that makes it tough on Shanahan.
Unconventionalness.
Yeah,
that's not even true.
That might be too. That sounds good. I'm down for it.
One more thing about this. This comes from Nate Tice, noting from Next Gen Stats as well. Fewest amount of play action dropbacks by Brock Purdy in a single game since he has been a 49ers quarterback.
Yeah, not shocked there.
Just 3.
Yeah.
Why was that?
Well, because I think, again, it's the all-out blitz nature of their.
You don't want to get caught in play action.
You don't want to get caught play action, right? And now they're bringing one or two more that we'd like to bring, and our back is in the middle of doing a play action fake, and it's like, no, you need to get over there to block the free safety coming off the edge.
Because they had a good running game, so you'd feel like play action would work with Mason going off for 100 yards again.
Right,
but when you're getting blitzed.
It's exactly. When you're getting blitzed and you don't even know where you're getting blitzed in a lot of ways, play action is the hardest way to protect in some of those instances like that. And when there's 7 guys at the line of scrimmage, then you get into, okay, we want to run play action, but it's like token play action, and the whole O-line slides one way, really in pass protection or something like that. And that's like easy for the defense to read. So Shanahan was like, F that, we'll run the ball, we'll drop back pass, and we'll go from there.
Vikings got the win there. They're taking out the Houston Texans next. The 49ers at the Rams, a touchdown favorite in that one. You'll hear all about Chris's thoughts on those on the Picks Pod coming up tomorrow. Pick number 4. My Detroit Lions, they struggled to score. They moved the ball.
Yes.
Had over 400 yards total offense against the Buccaneers, who were very impressive as well. Wolfman 182 says to us, I'm sure we'll get to hear plenty about the Lions, even though the Bucs took it to them. So I think he's
mad.
Disgruntled Bucs fan.
Don't worry, Wolfman, we'll get him.
You got your Bucs guy right here.
Right.
So the Lions blew this game. The Bucs did nothing to win it. I think we can all agree on that. So you looked at this one a little deeper too.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lions, I watched this whole game, as I told you on Sunday, and it really was more frustrating looking back at the numbers and the statistics and like how much they dominated, how many times they were able to move the ball up and down the field. They just could not score.
No, could not score.
The touchdown.
A little bit of an issue with you guys right now. And I know you scored touchdowns in the Rams game, but there was a few even though drives there where you'd go, man, it just feels like last year they would have punched it in. They would have found a way, right? Here's my overall first thing that I think is what's a little different about the Lions. I don't, and I want to be careful how I say this.
Because I'm right here.
Well, yeah, you might knock me out. I'm scared of you. I know their O-line play has not been dominant yet.
I agree.
Right.
So
that to me is the number one thing in their offense and what you're looking at. It's the fact of I don't think they are capable of just relying on their offense to run the ball down your throats that way yet. And then that's kind of chopped the leg off of the play action pass game and the effectiveness there as well. But the beauty of you guys so much of the time, right, is all last year and then, of course, that second half of 2023 when you were really good, is is you could run the ball to a point where it was like, damn, it's 2nd and 5 almost every time. And now 2nd and 5 is a play caller's dream because now the defensive coordinator's like, well, they can run for 5 on us again for the first down. So I'm a little worried about the run still. So we got to do that. And then all of a sudden some great play action pass off of it or whatever. So you're always in a position of power. They're not doing that right now. That would be the one big thing I think that's missing from them. They don't seem to be as dedicated to the run. And they definitely don't seem to be as dominant. Maybe I overestimated the talent on that Lions offensive line. Maybe it got a year older on me. Maybe with Decker getting up there, Zeitler getting up there, right? Frank Ragnow getting up there a little bit. Maybe that time has come, or maybe it's still just early season cobwebs, and they haven't done that. I don't know, but I think that's the first thing that jumps out to me. In the last 2 years, they've been able to run it down your throat, or they come out in the game and they go play action down your throat and get you oh no, we got to back up because of play action. Then they go back to the run. And right now, those two things are not feeding off each other the same way they used to.
Yeah, I still think they have the ability to do that, but they didn't. And they did less play action because the run game was not as effective. Now, they did have 22 red zone plays. I looked at them all.
Yeah. Right.
Browns had 4 red zone plays, and they scored a touchdown. Lions had 22 red zone plays, and they also scored just 1 touchdown here. 16 of the 22 were pass plays. And so they really did, and they were not successful.
So the play action pass numbers are down, right? Because I don't look these up. I just went from what my eye has told me through 2 weeks.
Last season they were 26%.
Right.
Week 1 they were 34%, but this week they were just 19%.
Got into definitely a drop back pass football game, and this is not what Jared Goff is. Jared Goff is not carry the team type of guy,
especially when he doesn't have a good pocket.
No,
and he's throwing
exactly
off the back foot and feeling the pressure.
And Tampa's never going to let you do that. And Tampa was obsessed in this game because they've lost to the Lions twice in the last 10 months, where they really went, I'm not letting you run for 5 yards on first down. So they played defenses a little bit that, just like Detroit, I think went, forget even calling the run plays. Let's just call the pass plays an attack. But what I would say with the Lions is you're too good, and that damn Jahmyr Gibbs is too good, that you need to have just some run it plays no matter what. I don't care if there's 5 people on the line of scrimmage. You got to do it. That's what you're best at. And that's when I think they're playing their best quality football, is when they get that going. But yeah, it's a good Bucs defense too. Let's not forget. And they have a feel, because they played them for the 3rd time in 10 months, of kind of how the Lions want to attack and some of their rules and all of that. And Todd Bowles kind of figured it out this time around and made life a little harder on them.
Well, to make sure that Wolfman 182 cannot say, look, I was right, they just talked about the Lions the whole time, I do want to mention a couple of the standouts on defense.
Yeah,
so there was that great 4th and 1 play from my guy Ben Johnson when they just did the I don't even know what happened. They pulled a couple guys. Remember that with Jahmyr Gibbs?
Right.
And he almost scored on that one.
He did.
It was Christian Isian, who was kind of playing second-year guy out of Rutgers, who made a great tackle. If he doesn't make that tackle, Gibbs scores a touchdown there. Lions take the lead, maybe win the game.
See, that's where like a lot of your yards came off of like little situations like that. Yeah. Again, where everyone's going to look at the stats and go, what's Simms talking about? They ran the ball good. But it's like, no, I want consistent domination, not Lamar Jackson ran around the edge for 50 yards, and now we go, our run stats are good. And I go, that's not really running the ball. That's one guy making amazing shit happen, or in this case, one team going all out to stop something, and you kind of crack the code for that play, but it's not physical domination. And that's where we're missing that. But you're right about that. I'm sorry, keep going with
And they had another couple, so the 22 red zone plays I watched.
Yeah.
A guy kept popping up. Joey Tryon-Shoyinka kept popping up there. And then another guy that you noted in your notebook called him a beast, Yaya Diaby.
Yaya Diaby is he pops a lot. I mean, we know Vita Vea's a beast in the middle and all of that, and he certainly caused some problems. But Yaya Diaby just is as a look for one, and then what he does on the football field too, you just go, wait, who was that took on that block and just stopped it right there, or busted through the block and made the tackle in the backfield? Wait, who's that guy that's like consistently pushing Penei Sewell around a little bit? Right, that's where I was just like, holy shit, it's Diaby again. I mean, Diaby looks like he's turned the corner of like, hey, potential, looked good last year as a young player, to like, holy shit, we might have a game-by-game enforcer here, like somebody that's kind of special. So that's what's cool about that. And I think when you add that on top of Kalijah Kancey hasn't played yet for them, you go, man, this Bucs D is good. And, of course, we know they're coached well, too. They're aggressive. They got some playmakers, and then their offense fits that, too. So they play complementary football that way, and that's why, they got beat on the stats and all of that. But their aggressive nature allowed 2 turnovers, made a play there. And then, we weren't consistent moving the ball, but we're aggressive all game long, and we made a few plays that we scored touchdowns, and you guys kept kicking field goals, and we won the game.
Could keep it rolling, too. They got the Denver Broncos coming up next. The Lions are at Arizona. Detroit, just a 2.5-point favorite there. DraftKings now has the updated odds to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. 49ers holding that top spot still despite the loss, and you got the Eagles there. Saints have moved up. I can't imagine that they were anywhere near the top 3 a couple of weeks ago, so they're plus 600. Lions have dropped down, plus 700. The Buccaneers at plus 900. I'd bump them up a little bit. I'd put them above. I'd put them. I mean, I don't think either of these teams are going to get the number 1 seed in the NFC, but I'd think the Bucs maybe have a better chance than the Cowboys.
I would agree with that. I would. I mean, again, the champion odds is hard, right? To win it and be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, would I be shocked if teams like the Buccaneers, the Falcons, the Vikings ended up in the NFC Championship game? Like, not overly shocked. I'd be like, wow, okay, they made it, but I'm not going to be like, oh, wow, they have no business being here. There's been some years like that, and that's happened.
Yeah.
But, to actually win it, the Packers are still the team there that I would look at with the odds right now and where Jordan Love is and all that. I'd go,
watch out.
I would still be thinking Packers as if you want to got some extra money in the couch cushions.
So those, just to clarify, those were to be the number 1 seed in the NFC, not to win the whole thing.
Number one
seed.
Okay, sorry, got you.
The odds would be a little different, but the same idea there. DraftKings Sportsbook is the number 1 place to bet touchdowns. New customers can bet $5, get $250 in bonus bets instantly, plus get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium.
Download the app and use promo code UNBUTTONED when you signed up.
DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. We got 2 more picks.
I've had better. I said signed up there. Not good. Hold on. You're not done with me yet.
Oh, boy.
Hold on a second. I just want to make sure I got this.
Do we even know that Columbo is still... Do we know that Columbo is still on Peacock? It is still on Pete. Confirms it is, so we can do one more thing.
I do know that, yes. Hey, the fact that they played him for the third time in 10 months, like I said, I do think they were all over some of the route combinations a little that way. Right? We talked about the O-line. I watched all these teams yesterday, the Saints, the 49ers, and the Vikings. I felt like all their O-lines are a little better than yours right now, right? Just to add that, because I put you guys in the top 5 O-line combo really for the last year and a half, right? So I'm just trying to clarify that at all.
Yep.
The end of the first half stuff was bad. That was Dan Campbell really messed up. Yeah, he definitely
took full responsibility. He put this whole loss on him. I think that's probably a little unfair, and who knows exactly what happened there, but that was disheartening at the end of the first half.
Yes. So that definitely left three points on the board. And, I think they're a little too cute at times right now. I think they need to just run the ball a little bit more. Stop blowing like, oh, it's not the perfect look for the run, so I'm going to run the RPO or I'm going to run something else off of it. Like, you guys are at your best and you just go, hey, up yours, we're running it down your throat. That's when the Lions are awesome. And on top of that, stop with all the Montgomery runs. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it more and more. I like him. Jameer Gibbs is one of the best running backs in football.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I love Jameer Gibbs.
Right.
He's speed and power.
Yes.
Might be number 1 in the NFL.
I mean,
my number 1 favorite guy to watch. We got to keep him healthy, though.
I like Montgomery. I get that. I only want him for short yardage situations. There was a few plays in the game where Montgomery had the ball, and I went, if Jameer Gibbs had that ball right there, that was going to be an extra 30 yards. And he got 4.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason
it's a long season.
I know.
Need them both there.
Under center, run formations.
That was Columbo. One more thing, streaming exclusively. The entire catalog is exclusively on Peacock. So we got 2 more picks to throw here still. Bryce Young.
I can do it.
Man,
Nobody
what
can
happened
throw picks
there?
like me.
We got some fan therapy to get to, too. That's coming up next. For another season, DraftKings has set up the free 1K Florio and Simms Pick'em Pool. You can pick every game against the spread for a chance at $1,000. That's the prize pool every week. So we're giving out $1,000 every week.
Boom. Florio's that rich.
You can download the DraftKings Sports app, click on the Pools tab, enter the Florio and Simms free 1K Pick'em Pool to make your picks right now.
Florio and Simms, not Florio and Swims.
What did I say?
Swims. He gave me swims.
Hey, who knows? You know,
I do swim well. Never been beaten.
Never been beaten in your life.
Not in a freestyle race ever.
Wow.
Nobody's
so
ever.
Never gotten in a pool with anyone faster than you. You're like, wait, how fast are you? I will not go against you.
I challenge everybody.
Wow.
Everybody knows
I didn't know
that.
you were a good freestyle swimmer.
Yeah, I used to get asked, like, even like growing up, if like the swim team was like missing somebody, they'd be like, "Hey, Simms, can you come and swim freestyle?" Right?
Did you ever do it?
I did. Yeah.
And you won it for him?
I've never been beaten in freestyle.
Wow.
Yeah, never.
Insane.
My dad will tell you, Kyle Shanahan will tell you, any of my buddies will tell you. They never
beat you freestyle.
Nobody. I mean, no, you name it. Whatever athlete, whatever. If you're at either my parents' house or you come to my house, I don't know. Pete's asked me,
how many people have you beaten?
I'm you know me. I'm a psycho. If I'm in the pool, I don't know anything but like, let's go crazy and do something, right?
Yeah.
Let's hold our breath the longest underwater. Let's have a race. That's what we do in my family.
Yeah.
We're a bunch of meathead psychos.
What would you do?
I race everybody. It's thousands of races.
So knowing you have this streak, what would you do if tomorrow you were at your house? You have a pool at your place?
I have a big pool.
So you have a pool. You can do from one side to the other. Michael Phelps jumps in. He goes, I want to take you down. Would you do it? Would you put your streak at risk?
I would like to see. I would. To race him, I would. I would go, let me just see how much I lose by, right? I would.
So then you could say the only person I've ever lost to, which actually is probably cooler,
is a 14-time gold medalist. No big deal.
Yeah, that actually would make the story
and
that much
beat me
better.
by a hair. I mean, barely beat me.
Yeah,
so it means I would have been a gold medalist in most Olympic
Some
years.
people say I won, too. We welcome you back with that to the Chris Simms Unbuttoned podcast, presented by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. Pick number 5.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the Panthers briefly. Bryce Young, he is benched. Andy Dalton is in. So Simon Evans, 5562 from YouTube.
Yeah.
Sent this to us. He goes, you think Carolina's players are going to start calling out sick? I do think that's a possibility at some point. You're just like, well, I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe that's exactly what Bryce Young has done.
Well, let's go on to that right there. And I think we're going to hit on this here, and we're going to hear some people who have reported things. But I think that's already going on. They're not calling in sick, but I think you watch the film, you see body languages of receivers and things like that. They're definitely going over to the receiver coach going, I'm open, or why didn't he throw it? Or, how come he didn't put a little more mustard on this or whatever? You could see that there's a little bit of lost hope on film in the body language of the football players. I think that's part of the reason they had to make this move, was you feel like, and I think you're going to see some of that in the reporting here, that you're going to lose the team going, wait, we're throwing out a guy because he's the number 1 pick. We don't really think he can lead us to a win, but because he's our number 1 pick, we're going to throw him out there. That's how you lose a locker room in a hurry if you're a first-year head coach in Dave Canales.
So to your point, the locker room, there's a report out from ESPN that the locker room was saying that, and that Bryce just wasn't. That the body language is not there. He's a guy. He kind of like Jalen Hurts, right? Yeah. It's like when things are going wrong, is he going to show that fire? Is he going to yell at some people? It's like he's a young guy still, and so maybe he didn't feel like he had that in him. Silvercat 1986 says, "Can you please post an analysis of Bryce Young? It's so bad. I think someone needs to see it. I mean, the numbers are bad, and anyone can see that it's the offense in totality has been a disaster. But in that same ESPN report, they said that Young was very shocked at the decision, even, quote, pissed about being benched here. So
I get
obviously a young guy that has been put in an impossible situation that now will have to learn from the sideline.
Yeah, that's right. I think this is needed. He looks overwhelmed. He does not look confident. Right? They're not confident in him, like I said, with the body language. And as I always can tell with one thing, and you hear me say this all the time, the way they call the game tells me they have no confidence in him. They don't really want to call any throws down the field. Everything's let's just get a little short completion. Let's throw a screen here. Let's see if we can get them in a little rhythm that way. And I understand, like, they're not a really talented offense. I get that. But he is not doing anything that's helping that offense out, or going to, like, back a defense off or do anything like that. Let alone, I think if you talk to people down in Carolina, they tell you that Andy Dalton's outperformed Bryce Young almost every day of the whole offseason anyways. So that's the other reason you start to lose the team. Wait, we're playing him because he's number one pick, but the other guy keeps doing. He was better today. He was better today. He was better today. He was better. But the number one pick's out here. Okay, all right, cool. And like people get that in the locker room, but there becomes a point where it goes, wait, nothing's happening here. The progress isn't happening. And as you've heard me say, you know, his one thing was his processing, and I think he's in his own head now because nothing's working. That's not even that good. Right? There's reads being missed. There's people open. He's looking at the wrong side of the field. The throws, of course, are not impressive. There's never a wow throw, and that, you know, I've been saying that for last year. Let alone the athleticism is nothing special either. So that's where, and then you couple that with, yeah, we're not that good and we need some ball thrown into some tight windows and you're going to have some pressure on you when you do that. That's not his forte either. And that's where Andy Dalton will give them a boost. And hopefully Bryce Young can go back here, you know, like take a deep breath, go, why am I making this so hard? Talk to himself a little bit. Maybe they can get the team going in a little bit of positive direction here, get some things going to where they can build off it as an overall offense. And then maybe he can get a chance later on down the road this year to come in and start to improve his play and his career. But yeah, right now it has not looked good.
Well, the whole thing obviously has been a giant miscalculation, right? You trade all those assets, number one pick, and then I think this is almost unheard of. The number one pick, you traded all that stuff, is benched 2 weeks into season number 2.
I give them credit for doing it.
I do too, but it's a miscalculation. And
100%.
Mel Kiper made a great point too, and he was talking about the preseason for Bryce Young, and he played 12 snaps in the preseason with 6 of 8, 70 yards, touchdown. It's like if this was ever a possibility, right, that we might move on from him after week 2, what better time to get Bryce Young some reps and some successful reps than an extended period of time playing in the preseason? That now is a wasted 4 games that you could have helped develop or at least try to bring along your number one pick.
You know me. I mean, I'm Mr. Play guy, and especially for those type of guys. Like, what are we doing, right? I mean, he needs reps. He needs to do that. But again, I think, and I don't know this, but this would be my 2 cents here, in that I think they knew they weren't that great and he wasn't very good, and they were scared to even how it was going to look in the preseason. I think that's really what it was, and they were just hoping, hey, let's keep giving him work. Let's try to keep building his confidence, doing that, and that would be my thought there. That, you know, because again, the offensive line is a little better. It definitely is, but it still can't run the ball to the same capacity. Their defense is definitely not the same, and especially with that Derek Brown. But I mean, let's remember, they no more Dante Jackson. Their best Luvu, their defensive linebacker, is maybe other than Derek Brown, the second best player on the team. He's not there. Brian Burns isn't there, so they're not the same on that side of the ball, and that's why they're losing control of these games now. Like last year, they could play some of these ugly games, and you'd be like, they're only down 13-6. Like, hey, now it's like, no, the defense isn't good. No, you're down by 20-3, and you need to make some plays in a hurry. Hurry up. And they're not doing that. And, I understand them going to Andy Dalton here.
If you could save one player's career, you're a quarterback coach, who would you take? Like, who is the most salvageable now? Who do you think you could fix?
Wow.
Between Bryce Young, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, or Kenny Pickett?
Ooh, all right. So right away, I can narrow this down to 2. It would be Mac Jones or Zach Wilson. Right? I don't think there's much to save with the other guys. To me, I don't see enough there, like, worth saving, I guess is what I'm saying. Okay? Mac Jones, I still think there's some things in his football game that I go, I like, and if he can improve his mechanics and learn how to throw the ball a little harder, I think he is still an NFL starting quarterback. Zach Wilson, the same kind of talk. He doesn't need mechanical help on throw the ball harder. He needs mechanical help on how to throw touch and how to keep your body in the right throwing positions when you're on your third read and stuff like that. And that's where Sean Payton's going to fix him. And I mean, you talk to anybody in Denver, Zach Wilson, they're very happy with him so far. But I think, if you make me pick ones, I'm going to pick Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
I am, because I just think his talent and his natural throwing ability is way greater than the rest of those. And there's some gold to be struck there.
And if you could fix him, be like, I was right, guys. See, I was right. I told you it was in there. A good quarterback was in there. Panthers at the Raiders. Raiders 5.5 3.5-point favorite. It was 7 points before Bryce was benched, so Andy Dalton gives him a 1.5 bump.
Definitely. Well, he's gonna. You've heard me say this, and I'm not trying to be a hater.
Yeah.
But one of the worst things about Bryce Young is when the pocket collapse and most quarterbacks go, "Wait, I'm gonna get hit, but I can still throw this ball 20 yards down the field." That does not happen. That goes into my size as a skill category that I always talk about. With him, it's like, oh no, I can't take that hit, so I have to run, or I just have to throw the ball short. And I'd go, there's a handful of plays every game where I'd go, big quarterback gets 20-yard gain there. Most quarterbacks in the league get 20-yard gain. The Tuas and the Bryce Youngs of the world, because of their size, have to go, ooh, I can't stand and look down the barrel and make that throw, or my season might be over, so I have to do that. And there's yards and plays left on the field because of that. And that's the detriment of drafting smaller quarterbacks. You lose those type of plays, and both of those teams have learned that lesson to a degree.
I mean, who could have known? Who could have known he was short? You never would have seen that coming. Finally, we do this. A little fan therapy or celebrating the 2-0 team. So we got the 2-0 teams and the 0-2 teams. So congratulations to the fan bases of the Bills, Steelers, Texans, Chiefs, Chargers, Vikings, Saints, Buccaneers, and Seahawks. You have started 2-0. Unfortunately, the teams that are 0-2, Bengals, Ravens, some surprising ones here, Titans, Jaguars, Colts, Broncos, Giants, Panthers, and Rams. And so what does your future look like? We have the recent trend here. This is since the playoffs expanded to 14 teams in 2020. So teams that start 2-0, there's been 33 total. 26 of those have made the playoffs. So that's a pretty high percentage.
Yes, it is. 5
have made it all the way to the Super Bowl, and a couple have won it. 0-2 start, not looking good. Just 2 of the 32 teams have made the playoffs since 2020.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah, and we've had 2 years in a row. It's the Bengals in 2022 and then the Texans last year, right? No, Texans Bengals 2 years ago. 3 years ago and 2 years ago. I'm sorry.
Bengals 2 years ago.
Bengals 2 years ago.
Texans last year.
Right. Thank you. I said that right. Didn't I say that right?
I don't know. Yeah.
And then I doubted my mouth.
It's hard. Sometimes I think it's 2023 still, and so that really makes calculating these other years very difficult.
It is
Tom Agnetti says, I'm a Broncos fan on the ledge. Should I jump off now, or is there any hope? Once again, we don't condone that.
We don't condone suicide.
No, we don't condone that.
But, I mean, if the ledge is 3 feet long and you feel like just 3 feet high and feel like diving off that, go ahead. Yes, then we condone it. Okay? All right?
Go into a pool.
But not that. But, sorry, for lack of a better way to say this, it's time to jump off the ledge. I'm sorry. I don't see.
Yeah, as a fan, metaphorically. Yeah, you can do other things with your Sunday. If
jump off the 3-foot ledge onto a mattress. Okay, that's the kind of ledge we're talking about.
Enjoy the process is what you're telling him.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the playoffs this year. Enjoy the process of developing a new young quarterback.
Yeah, exactly right. I don't see anything in that area where I go, oh, this is totally going to turn around, where you just want it to turn around to see your franchise quarterback continue to get better, to where we get to the halfway point of the year and you go, hey, he's starting to look pretty good, and then to the end of the year where we start to go, damn, we're a pain in the ass, and this quarterback, I can't wait for next year. That to me is what you should be hoping for, Tom Magnetti. I don't think it's going to get much better than that. Out of those teams that are 0-2, listen, I really look at them, and most of them go, they're unsalvageable. I'm sorry, right? Some of them might be a pain in the ass and all that, but the Bengals, Ravens, and Jaguars are the only 3 teams there I look at to go, there's hope, or there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's things they've done in games that are very good, and I'm not ready to give up on the talents of their football teams quite yet.
I think we both had the Rams as a playoff team.
Yeah,
so you said it before. You're out on the Rams.
The Rams are screwed. With the injuries and the way their team's beat up, and they had to rely on their offense to carry them here while their young defense got going anyways. And now there's no Cooper Kupp. There's no Puka Nacua. They got offensive lineman hurt. You got an older quarterback, and the defense, I think, was a little bit of a question to begin with. No way. The Rams are in deep crap. So, that's where I look at the Bengals, Ravens, and Jaguars as being the 3 teams that can turn this around. The Titans and the Colts can be a pain in the ass. I do think that. But the Broncos, Giants, Panthers, and Rams, I think it's looking like it's going to be a long year.
We'll let the B-Dub finish us off here with our pick 6. Says, love the pod, despite Chris ignoring me in Whole Foods once.
Damn. I would never do that. I didn't mean to ignore
you. Would never do that intentionally.
Never. Damn. I mean, just come up to me. What did he do? How do I ignore him? I don't ignore anybody. You know me. I'm the guy that, like, I think most people in the office are like, he's too happy. He says hi to everybody. Yeah. What's wrong with him? I'm that guy.
Maybe it wasn't you. Do you go to Whole Foods?
I know. Not all blonde white people look alike. I mean, come on, the B-dub.
Exactly.
And no, I've been in Whole Foods, a handful of times over the last year.
And even if it was someone hating on you, like, oh, hey, thanks for Zach Wilson, you would definitely engage with that person because you'd give it back to him.
100%. 100. So I'm sorry at the B-dub. I definitely did not mean to do that. Only time I could think he maybe – I would never ignore anybody. I remember going in the summer, my son had a baseball game, and I ran in real quick because the parents were having a tailgate, and I was like, I'll go to Whole Foods real quick and get limes and cups and whatever else, and I went and did it.
Oh,
he's talking about that.
Like, hey, Chris, how's it going?
Maybe.
I gotta go.
Man, I didn't mean to ignore you.
Right, the B-dub, if it happens again, go up to Chris and say, I'm the B-dub, and let's make this right, and you will.
But what's he want to know? The debacle of the kicker situation, which is a little weird.
No, I wasn't going to even get into the Giants. Is this all the B-dub too?
Yes.
This is the B-dub's comment.
Yeah.
I was almost about to skip over the B-dub's comment. Yeah, he's out on the Giants. He's out on Dayball. He's out on the front office. He thinks that they have not been able to address the offensive line issues.
O-line is better. I mean, we saw them. I mean, Devin Singletary, he ran well the other day. Again, if that was Saquon, there would have been some big yards. But I don't think the O-line is like a total detriment like it was in years past. Okay, so I think there's something there, but it's better. Is it dominant? No, I understand that. And then, hey, Daniel Jones and his play, and of course the defense and all that. We'll see where it goes. I do think the Giants can be a pain in the ass. I do. And they can be in a lot of games like they were against Washington last week. It's just, can they win them? I don't know. But, man, a little stupidity and not having a kicker ready, a little unlucky with the kicker getting hurt like that and not having them for the game.
Pete notes it is darkest before dawn, so maybe we're about to have dawn for the Giants. I did see somewhere that there have been 1,133 games in the NFL where one team has scored 3 more touchdowns than the other team. This was the first time ever that team also lost.
Wow, that's crazy, right? Because of all the field goals.
All the field goals. They had 3 touchdowns. The Commanders had 0.
Yeah. No, it's fair to say if we had the field goal kicker, the extra points, and the ability to kick a field goal, I feel safe to say we would have won that game. But that's not the case. And, Neighbors was awesome, but we know he missed the one big catch that we needed him to catch on the day.
All right, finally, what is going to have us all buzzing next week? Buzz Watch for Week 3. Now, once again, these are the teams or the players with the biggest opportunity to create the biggest buzz next week. When it's all said and done, these are not predictions, but if I'm right on any of these, we will play them next week as a prediction.
100%.
So we give you the buzz before the buzz. So this is number 3.
Yep.
Houston Texans back in here.
Yeah.
They beat the Vikings in Minnesota.
Right.
So they go in there, and so now the talk of the Houston Texans goes from, are we going to see them kind of struggle after last year? They had so much success, to being like, wait, how high of a seed could they become in the AFC?
This is one of the games of the week. I mean, again, it's D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Slowick versus O'Connell and B. Flo. It's a similar offense to what Brian Flores just dealt with. So he's going like that. Bobby Slowick's going, wait, Shanahan's offense is a lot like mine. What did he do to them? So, who can kind of crack the code on each other there? I'm with you. That could be – this one could go either way.
Either true.
Right?
If the Vikings win –
if Minnesota wins, we're going to be like, oh, damn, they're real. Like, are they going to win the North this year? Like, I think it'll be official. So, I mean, that game is definitely one of the marquee matchups of Week 3.
Number 2 has to do with the Cardinals and the Detroit Lions.
You won't like this, but I give
wouldn't
you credit
like this one
for doing it.
So say the Cardinals beat the Lions, and Kyler goes off again. Oh, the Kyler Murray for MVP hype train gets rolling at full steam ahead. That is potentially what will happen. Because I think if he does it last week, it's like, wow, there's some huge plays.
Definitely.
No one's like Kyler. Does it against the Detroit Lions 2 weeks in a row. Kyler for MVP talk. You're going to be hearing that all over ESPN.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I mean, hey, the Cardinals have looked good in both games, right? They had a chance to make things really tough on Buffalo, and Buffalo was great in the end of the football game in the second half and all of that, but hey, they were dominant last week. This is going to be a good one too. The Cardinals are not going to be like a team like we've seen the last few years where you're just going to go, oh, well, it's the Cardinals. It's a loss. No, they are really well coached on both sides of the ball. They can run the ball with James Conner, and as we saw last week, like they have a potential to be explosive in the pass game. And with you guys, can your run game get going and all that this week? That'll be a big thing. I expect that game to be a close football game.
I think
I really
so too.
do. Yeah.
Kyler Murray currently plus 2,500 to be MVP. We'll check back next week and see what those odds are. But number one on BuzzWatch for week 3, going into week 3.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Falcons, we talked about it before. If they can somehow figure out a way to beat the Chiefs back-to-back wins, you do it in Philadelphia and then against Mahomes and KC, they're right back on the trajectory of where we thought they would be to begin the year is like the NFC South favorite. Looks like that division's going to be stronger than we thought.
Definitely.
But I think that Kirk Cousins and all that, after what happened week 1, if they can do this, they're like, okay, wow, Falcons are for real.
For real, right. I would agree with you there. And like I said at the top of the pod, I think they match up well with the Chiefs in a lot of ways. Like, I don't expect the Chiefs to like handle them or blow them out or anything like that. The one thing I think we've learned about with these NFC South teams, the Bucs, the Saints, and the Falcons, and where maybe I didn't give them enough credit for, is they're stout on both sides of the ball up front. There's not going to be any teams that play the Falcons, Saints, or Bucs, or you're just going to go, whoa, they might get overpowered this week on either side. So that's the positive start right there, let alone there's some playmakers to be had there on both sides of the ball too. So, yeah, that's going to be a good one, certainly. Oh, that's a good 3. It's a really good 3. Yep. The only other one that I think is even up worthy of being on your list is like if the Saints beat the Eagles, and now we start to go, whoa, Saints are real too, right? A little bit like maybe we would say the Vikings if they beat the Texans a little.
That's an honorable mention. I also did consider Chargers against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. So we got a lot of good
We got some good
matchups
games this week.
where we can learn some. We're going to finally learn some stuff, right?
I think when you can start to get to week 3, week 4, week 5, you start to see teams a little bit more for who they are. I think that's when you start to see it, especially in the age of we don't play people in the preseason anymore. And now that there's a 17th game, there is more little wiggle room early in the year for teams to be not on their A game, let alone nobody is on their A game because of the way the rules are in the NFL. And that I think makes teams start a little slower than we're accustomed to.
Pete notes if the Falcons win, they're going to call me. He's going to call me Ahmed Buzz Lightyear from now on.
Right.
I mean, one of these 3 probably will win, and we'll play it back as a prediction. I love this segment already. I don't even need to predict things. I can be right every week.
I like that. You know Buzz Lightyear? You know that one?
I do know that one.
Okay, good. All right, good.
Animated character from that one movie.
That one movie, that's right. Tom Hanks was
the voice.
I know. I can't think of the damn name of the movie
Toy
either.
Story.
Toy Story. There we go. Way to go. All right.
I'm rubbing off
Tim Allen, and then
Tim Allen, but
Tom Hanks is the other guy.
Basically the same person.
Don't get all technical on me,
Allen,
Pete. Pete's explaining all this to me.
It's like we know what we meant.
Yep. Yeah. Pete's got kids. He's probably knows it line by line.
He's watching it tonight.
All right, everybody. That's it. You know where to find us. I'll be back tomorrow. Picks podcast with Florio. Me and Ahmed will be back on the microphone Sunday night for our week 3 podcast review and everything that way. Ahmed, thanks as always for driving the ship. You the man. Everybody enjoy the week of football. Thursday night football, little Jets Patriots. That should be good. It's going to be entertaining. Jets fans going to get to see Aaron Rodgers, hopefully for more than 4 plays at home. So that'll be really cool. But hey, keep sending it in. Subscribe, rate, review. We love the questions. YouTube, anywhere on social media. Really appreciate it. Peace out, homies. Clap it up. Yo, homies, thanks for watching. Yeah, it's time. The NFL season is here on Chris Simms Unbuttoned.
You can hit subscribe to get all the weekly picks, plus our Sunday recaps as the games are happening.
Oh, you know it. Nobody does that better than us. Thanks again for watching. Remember to subscribe. Peace out. We'll see you next time on Unbuttoned.